Okay, so we fed our starter, fed him last night, left him sitting out overnight, and he has completely rised all the way up. You can see he's doubled in size. I've been tilting the jar so he's kind of all over, but you can see where he rose up to, doubled in size. Mine has started to fall back down some. That means that he's done rising. He's getting hungry again. He's going to shrink all the way down. If you leave him long enough, he'll shrink down to where he started at, which just means that it needs to be fed again, which is totally fine. And we'll talk about that later. But right now we're going to use him before he shrinks all the way back down. It is okay to use a starter that has passed its peak, which means that it has started to fall back down. It is totally fine. But we're going to bake a really, really simple loaf with this, show you how to do it. We're going to start with water. So we have 1 1/4 cup of water. It can be warm or it can be cold. If you use cold water, it's going to take a little bit longer to get your rise started, which is totally fine. If you want to spread the time out that you're doing it, you use some cold water. Room temperature though is probably best. I just use tap water, whatever temperature that comes out at. And then we're going to use our starter. Now I'm going to scrape everything out of my jar because I actually have more starter in my fridge. But when you do this, you want to make sure that you leave a good amount of scrapings in the bottom of your jar. It should be about a heaped tablespoon worth. Think about however much was in there when you first started, when you fed him. That's how much you want to leave so that you can do it again. But I make what's called a leaven, so my starter gets completely used up and my actual starter is in the fridge. Just give it a mix to kind of help break apart your starter into the water. And we're going to add about a teaspoon of salt. Doesn't have to be exact, just eyeball it. And about a tablespoon of sugar. You can use regular sugar or you can use honey, which is what I like to use. Except for that I'm now completely out of honey, apparently. And then you're going to mix it up. Now you can keep using the spoon. This is called a dough whisk, so it is specifically used for mixing doughs. So I'm going to switch to that, but you can just use your spoon, it's fine. And we're going to give that a little bit of a mix just to break apart the honey and mix in the salt into the water. And then we're going to add our flour. So we're going to add 3 level cups of flour. And you can see I have 2 different types here. I am making a part wheat, part flour sourdough loaf today, but you can use all white flour. Or you can use all wheat flour. If you use all wheat flour, it would be very dense, but it's really, really flavorful. But I like the combination of 1 part of wheat flour, 2 parts of white flour. You do not need to have any kind of special flour. You don't need bread flour. You don't need unbleached. Just regular all-purpose flour is totally fine. And I like to give it a quick mix in between each addition of the flour, just to kind of help get it mixed up. And it's okay if it's not all the way in there. It just makes less of a mess, I think, if it's mixed up some. And you can see in a second it's going to get pretty gloopy, and this last one's going to be pretty hard to mix in completely. Make sure that you can see my bowl. And you just keep mixing. Sourdough is a very sticky dough. It's very loose. Mine is actually on the stiffer side, which means it has a lower hydration. You can put more water, and this doesn't have to be exact. You can add more water, you can add more flour. The more water you add, the harder the dough is going to be to work with, because it's going to be even looser, even stickier. But this is going to sit for a while and it's going to hydrate. But it's a very sticky dough, and the easiest way to work with it and to clean off your whisk and stuff like that is with water on your hands and on your tools. So what I do is I do this by the sink so I can get my hands wet and just get all that water or all that dough off my hook. And then you can use either your hands to kind of scrape down the side and push everything in. Do a last couple of folds. You can see I'm just kind of pulling the bottom and pulling it over and pushing it down to incorporate in the last little bits if you want. And then I use a bench scraper. You don't have to, you can use your hands to scrape down the sides of the bowl. This one's a bowl scraper though, so it's got a kind of a curved edge. And I just use that to scrape the bits off the side of the bowl. But you don't have to do that. So just get everything tucked in to a nice mound in the middle of my bowl, and that's it. That's your dough. Now this is gonna sit and it's gonna rise. Let's see if I can move my camera, see if we can talk. Sorry. Okay, so you're gonna let your dough sit and rise now. We're gonna do stretch and folds or slap and folds, some kind of folding action for our bread every 30 minutes for the first hour and a half. So that's 3 sets of folds. Now, if you skip them, if you don't have time for them, if you completely forget about them, that's okay. They're not mandatory. You don't have to do it. But when you do, it helps to build the structure of the dough and gives you more rise, more shape when it's baking, when it's setting and stuff. So I'm gonna post separate videos so that you can see how each different type is done and you can choose which one works the best for you. But the first step is we're gonna let this sit and rest for 30 minutes before we start our stretch and folds. 3 sets of stretch and folds, and then we're gonna let it rise until it's doubled in size, which depending on the temperature of your room and how strong your starter is, can take 3 hours, it can take 12 hours. So you're just gonna have to play around with it. Keep an eye on it the first time or two until you kind of get a handle on it. Mine, after the stretch and folds are done, it's usually 3 to 4 hours is where mine is doubled in size, and then you can shape your dough and put it in the fridge for its cold ferment, which is going to be the next step. And so there'll be a couple more videos on this guy before the weekend is over so that you can see what we're doing with them. But right now, that's it. That's your dough made, and good job.